Florida Gators get ready to head into their regular season finale at rival Florida State. The Gators are entering the game sitting at 14.5-point favorites, with the Noles just snapping their 6-game losing streak. Gators head coach Billy Napier believes the game is still significant given the record of both teams and is still looking for continuous improvement.
You know, we have no time to play around here because we're turning the page in preparation for Florida State in a rivalry game, which we all know the magnitude of the game. Regardless of record, regardless of outcomes, you know, this game is always a very significant one. So I think it's really, really important for our players to be able to hit the reset button in here and within the walls execute our routine and prepare. And I think we need to continue to improve.
It's 77 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time in 10 brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
Hey. This is Helmets and Heels
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Final score in the Harbaugh Bowl. Harbaugh. I'm very glad I'm glad we don't have to try to attempt to say that anymore, Taylor Dahl.
That is kind of hard.
It's officially in the books as the Baltimore Ravens get back on a winning track, 30-23 on Monday Night Football from SoFi Stadium. Welcome into Helmets and Heels. Mia O'Brien alongside Taylor Dahl. Lauren Brooks has the week off for the Thanksgiving holiday. And Taylor, let's begin with last night's Monday Night Football game, but with an eye on what did we see from these two teams that not only have 500 records, remain in the playoff picture if the season was to end today in the National Football League, but the Ravens now an 8-win squad, the Chargers a 7-win squad. Certainly, this was a step up in competition for Jim Harbaugh's Chargers. And certainly the injury to J.K. Dobbins, I think, played a factor in the second half, although you still had Gus Edwards. The combinations and the connections between these two organizations were absolutely hilarious. The chart that they put up on ESPN at one point of how many coaches, how many personnel staff were from Baltimore, and Jim poached them from John, brought them to Southern California. It was astounding. That running back room is, if only on the roster, it's Exhibit A of where Jim looked at what John Harbaugh has been doing well for the better part of the last decade and said, that's what I want to bring to Los Angeles. Yeah. And I do think Dobbins' absence in the second half affected this game.
Oh, definitely.
But at the same time, I think the principle of Greg Roman not giving up on the run for better or worse was still present.
No, I think, and that's what we've talked about here. And I feel like we've talked about the run game so much this season for obvious reasons, but that is a thing that I've kind of mentioned where there's been moments, and a lot of those, maybe not as much this year, but the last couple years when the Jags have struggled with the run, a lot of times it's because they just abandon it. Like, it doesn't work for a couple drives and they leave it, and you can't do that. And you see it every single week, a team that kind of pushes and pushes and pushes, and then finally you get that one breakthrough run and it's downhill from here. Or later in games, these defenses are tired, and that's when you should be running the ball in those situations. So props to him, because he is one of those guys that has really forced that run game no matter what to keep going, even if your best running back isn't in. And sometimes it doesn't work, and that's unfortunate. But I do think that, first of all, did we completely jinx Quentin Johnson yesterday?
I didn't want to lead with that. I wanted to lead with looking at what these two teams do well and saying maybe this is something the Jaguars should emulate to bring it to the hometown team, Taylor. Yeah. But yes, did I jinx Quentin Johnston again? Yes. Yes, I did. Quentin Johnston, for those who may have missed it, he finished with 0 catches on, I believe it was 6 targets.
5 or 6 targets.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even showing.
4 drops. It was bad.
You can't even scroll over on the NFL site here. There we go. Okay, now I can see it. Quentin Johnston, 5 official targets, 0 catches.
Yeah, not good. And so if you want to relate things that go bad and that you can relate to the Jags, it's drops. That's one thing that you can relate.
That's one thing they do that the Jaguars don't necessarily want to do. Yes. And I think that, but ultimately, look, it was the worst game of the season for the former first-round pick.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this has been a season of progression for him and of growth, because I think largely, just like we see Jim Harbaugh has no problem touting Justin Herbert as the toughest quarterback he's ever seen in the National Football League, getting in his face, literally pounding his chest to try to amp him up. Last night, I'll tell you this much. Last night was the most I have seen Justin Herbert smile on a football field ever. And I know part of it is because we don't get to see the Chargers nearly as much with the fact that they play on the West Coast, don't have a lot of national games, at least this year. But dating back to his time at Oregon, I have never seen him play with such a smile as I saw last night. And so that, I think, is another takeaway from this game, beyond the result and what it means for the AFC playoff picture of what these two teams are doing well that the Jaguars can try to emulate.
Yeah, well, and I think there's a few things that pop out to me. First off, it's coaching. First off,
right. I think all of these things we've discussed so far in this opening two-minute segment so far relate back to coaching.
Yes. And I think that is two big things because, yes, when you talk about just the morale that both of these coaches bring, but also their in-game decisions and all of those things factor in. But there's two other things that I've been complaining about for over a year now, and these two teams are better in the league at them, and that's converting third downs, and that's red zone, and that third down, fourth down, and red zone. All of those things are situational football that the Jags have struggled with, and it goes beyond this season. It goes back to even the beginning of last year when the Jags were 8-3. They still struggled in those areas, and that is something that these two teams are really good at. And now that's when you start to dissect why are they really good at those two things. And I think you can factor in the run game, and that I think you can factor in the offensive lines in these situations. But I think you also do have to give credit to obviously Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, who already has multiple MVPs, was already being, maybe after a couple losses in the last 4 weeks, has lost a little bit of that momentum, but still was on pace for another MVP season when we are heading into week 7 and 8. And Justin Herbert is having one of his best career years. And I do think that is a lot of tie to Jim Harbaugh, because I think that a lot of the things that Justin Herbert struggled with, Jim Harbaugh looked at this offseason and said, these are the 3 things that we need to fix to make sure that Justin Herbert is a successful quarterback. One being, keep him up, because that guy battled injury after injury this season that the Jags beat them twice. Justin Herbert was hurt that whole year pretty much. And so if we want to factor in Trevor Lawrence's injuries last year at the end of the year, you have to do the same exact thing for Justin Herbert. And so I do think that when you start to dissect that, what they are really good at, and it's the things of it's building around your quarterback. And that is the biggest positive of both these teams, is that they've built these offenses of their quarterback strengths, and that's something that the Jaguars just have not done for Trevor Lawrence.
I'm so glad you brought up the third and fourth down rates. I want to hit those quick for both of these teams. We've really, I feel like, touched upon what the Chargers did last night, despite losing the ball game 30-23, that we wish for the Jaguars. And I think that's a likely connection just because they are in the midst of year one of the Jim Harbaugh regime. I see a Chargers team that was in the playoffs in 2022-2023, had a crater back down to earth 23 season, and now here they are, a 7-win outfit again, although the road ahead is
tough.
Not exactly pretty. We'll get to that schedule here in just a second. But the third down and fourth down efficiency numbers. The Baltimore Ravens were 8 of 15 on third down. They were 3 for 3 on fourth down. Some of the guts on the part of John Harbaugh to go for it on fourth down deep in your own territory. But that speaks to culture, and that speaks to confidence in the operation.
Belief in your players and belief in the coach, because I think on both sides you can see that he trusts in his players 1,000%. And once you put that trust in their hands, these guys want to run with it.
So 53% completion, or 53% efficiency on third down, 100% efficiency on fourth down for the Ravens. The Chargers, meanwhile, 5 of 14 on third down, but 2 of 2 on fourth down. And I'm so glad you brought up that number, Taylor, because it does relate to coaching. The one thing that was a little surprising, a total of 16 penalties between both these two teams. That was a little surprising to me, because that also is a stat that speaks directly to coaching.
It is interesting. I didn't watch any of the Manning cast, but I've seen clips of it, and Bill Belichick was on there, and Bill Belichick was calling illegal formations before obviously the refs were even calling it. Have you seen a major uptick in those being called this year? Because it's been insane to me. Every single game I'm seeing an illegal formation, and you're noticing it pretty much right out of the gate. And so that was obviously one of the ones. I think that was on Baltimore, because it was a touchdown, but then got called back right away from illegal formation. But these are two. Usually the penalties aren't something you see a ton of from teams that are towards the top because a lot of those, especially pre-snap stuff, you correlate to coaching. But I think this is one of those games where they were battling, and when you're just full on like in a battle zone, then sometimes those you get a little handsy and you're getting called for those DPIs, or you're jumping a little bit too early and things like that. There's a lot of antsiness in those type of games, and I haven't looked at the penalty numbers, so I don't know if that's a season-long thing. Something we could look into.
Especially when you look at who the Chargers have played so far. I don't want to say this was their Super Bowl because they have played the Kansas City Chiefs already at home at the end of September. Here is who their 7 wins up to this point have come against. Mm-hmm. The Raiders, the Panthers, the Broncos, the Saints, the Browns, the Titans, and the Bengals. Not exactly a murderer's row. Their losses now to the Chiefs and to the Ravens, to the Steelers, and to the Cardinals, all of whom are either on the bubble or in the playoff picture as of now. This is where I think we will start to see the coaching either come into play or we say, you know what, maybe this Chargers team is still a year away, because fundamentally what Jim Harbaugh is preaching, running the ball and playing great defense, that's not to say that certainly on the defensive side of the ball, the Chargers had the personnel to be a great defense. But this identity that they have developed, maybe it will take a little bit more time. They travel to Atlanta next week. Then they travel to Kansas City. They get the Bucs at home, the Broncos at home, at New England, at Vegas. 3-3 at best. Maybe 4-2.
Yeah, that's a tough road.
That's a tough road. But that's where, again, I think this is going to be, if there's one case study outside of course, our lovely deep dives into the Detroit Lions and how they've been built over the better part of the last 4 years. If there's one team, Jaguar fans, that you pay attention to for the next month and a half, because I know many of you are looking towards the future and where can this thing be rebuilt, reloaded, I would look at the Los Angeles Chargers because I'm very curious to see how the next 6 weeks plays out.
Yeah, me too. And just going back to that number real quick when we're talking about penalties. So Baltimore is actually the most penalized team in the league. They have 101 penalties on them. The next closest is the Texans at 92, the Titans at 88, Seattle at 84. Chargers are the 4th fewest penalized team.
Interesting.
It's Arizona has the fewest with 51, Cincinnati 52, the New York Giants 58, and the Chargers with 60. So they are on opposite spectrums of that. So that is an interesting thing to kind of keep an eye on too. But
maybe just all the Step Brothers memes and the hype and the hoopla around this game, the bright lights of Hollywood, maybe it got to them.
Yeah, and I do. And I think this is, it's also a comparison we've had for so long when it comes to like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert has been a conversation forever too of which quarterback's better and which quarterback's going to be better in 5 years. And I feel like both of them have had really, really high moments and really low moments. And so you're kind of waiting to see like which one is kind of where they are, and that's what it's going to be. Which one is still kind of learning and developing. And I think Justin Herbert with Jim Harbaugh and them kind of hitting the reset button on this team is the best way to see who Justin Herbert really is.
And like I said, it can't be quantified in a metric, but how many times I looked at the screen and I saw that young man smiling. Mm-hmm. Again, I think I saw him smile more last night than I did in the, 8 years that I've been watching him play football between Oregon and Los Angeles, which is, I think, a direct correlation to coaching.
Have we seen Trevor smile since like week 7 of last year?
Great segue, Taylor. If you would like to get in on the conversation, 641-1010. That, my friends, is the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. A couple of you have already got in on the conversation at 641-1010. This comes from 722. The wild part is if Trevor had Herbert's exact stat line and took the L like Justin did, at least one of you would have said Trevor is just okay and he doesn't lift the team. I think you may be confusing us with the program from 2 to 4 p.m. 554. This is what makes the Peterson hires so frustrating. The first year, Trevor and Doug looked like they were going to be this next great combo of coach and quarterback. And then for whatever the reason, injuries and whatnot, it hasn't been the same since the third year. I think he means the end of the second year last season. It'll be curious to see if this J.K. Dobbins injury is serious. How this changes the complexity of the Los Angeles Chargers stretch run.
Yeah, and that's
I think that they have this identity of not just next man up, but they're always going to find a way to run the ball. So personally, like I won't be surprised if they ride the Gus bus of Gus Edwards or Hassan Haskins gets more carries and they continue to try and force this offense to be multidimensional.
I think they will, and because that has been this whole offseason, they talked about wanting to be that team that does is able to run the ball, that team that is a trenches team. We talked about that fullback yesterday. That's the kind of mindset that Jim Harbaugh brought to the Chargers. Right now, it looks like it was the right choice. Have they had the toughest wins? No. Have they been able to beat? I guess probably the best team they've been is the Broncos. But I think honestly the Broncos are a pretty good football team. And so and the Titans, we talked yesterday, the Titans defense being the defense is good. They have the number 1 pass defense in the league and probably a top 10 run defense. So that is when you're talking about Justin Herbert going against these, because your quarterback isn't your win-loss record. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. Your quarterback is not directly linked to how many wins and losses you have. Now, can they elevate that? Yes. And that's a question that we have asked about Justin Herbert. That's a question we have asked about Trevor Lawrence. That's a question people were still asking about Josh Allen, honestly, a year ago. And now I feel like Josh Allen's proved that he is that guy that can elevate, because they hit the reset button and he was able to turn, some of these guys like a Khalil Shakir and a Keon Coleman and some of these guys with help from the run game into a pretty good offense. And that's what's been kind of refreshing to see.
Before we take our first break and get ready to say hello to our good friend Nick De La Torre, now with Florida victorious. So, yeah, we'll hear not only about the Gators win over Ole Miss this past weekend, but also Nick's new gig. I do want to give a round of applause, and I want to salute the Yulee Bulldozer, Derrick Henry. I would also, in doing so, like to salute all running backs, wherever they may be. Because, Taylor Dahl, as of this writing, here is how the top 5 rushing leaders in the National Football League through Week 12 reads. Saquon Barkley signed a very nice contract this offseason with the Philadelphia Eagles, leads the way with 1,392 yards. Derrick Henry signed a modest deal, somehow, some way, only modest, with the Baltimore Ravens, 1,325 rushing yards. Josh Jacobs, left for dead out in the desert, signs a deal with Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers, 944 rushing yards. Finally, in 4th place, Jahmyr Gibbs, 886 rushing yards, drafted 12th overall by the Detroit Lions once upon a time. So many people frowned, questioned the move. Imagine his numbers if he wasn't paired with David Montgomery. Yeah. And finally, rounding out the top 5 in rushing yards in the National Football League, Chuba Hubbard with the Carolina Panthers with 876 rushing yards through 12 weeks of the season. That one is interesting to me for a variety of reasons. Most notably, though, you want a strong running game to set up a young quarterback to have success in Bryce Young. But Chuba Hubbard was also drafted by the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah,
everybody who said that running backs were done, they're a dime a dozen. Get them as undrafted free agents, put them in a stable. For some organizations, that may be the case, but we are seeing that if only for the top 5 rushing outfits in the National Football League, you have to invest either through the draft or through free agency dollars.
It's funny. My tangent is also on the running back, so we'll have a lot of running back talk today. Do you think people haven't talked enough about Derrick Henry this year? Because Saquon, I feel like, has been the talk of the town, which rightfully so. You go to a division.
I blame John Mara and Hard Knocks for a lot of that.
Yeah, which 1392 and 10 touchdowns for Saquon and 1325 and 13 touchdowns for Derrick. There's nothing that Saquon's doing that Derrick Henry isn't doing. Maybe more receiving yards from Saquon because that's how they build him in. But Derrick Henry doing this late into his career is just so fun to watch.
Current MVP odds at mybookie.ag. Josh Allen is the favorite at plus 129. Lamar Jackson plus 216, not far behind. Saquon Barkley, the 3rd best odds at plus 480. Taylor Dahl, how far do you think I have to go down the list to get to Derrick Henry?
He has Saquon's where?
3rd.
What number? 3rd? Man, I would say, honestly, probably down to like 9 or 10.
He has the 14th best odds at plus
should not be
7,000. Now, part of that is because his quarterback has the 2nd best odds.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, though, has the 7th best odds. Yeah. So make it make sense, folks. Hit us up on the text line, Design My Lifetime Enclosures. Help us understand this. 641-1010. You also can hit us up at the MyBookie Digital Studio chat line. All you have to do to find us, search 1010XL. We are live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Leave us a comment, leave us a chat. We will get to it throughout the duration of today's 2-hour program. Our friend Nick De La Torre going to say hello to us on the other side right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
A sturdy defense keeps your end zone safe like a superior fence keeps your family and pets safe.
It's fantastic.
After the game, catch the Superior Fence and Rail Defensive Player of the Game on 1010XL.
Movember is Cancer Awareness Month, so educate yourself on the risk factors for prostate and other cancers. Take charge of your health. Many cancers are highly preventable. Trust the physicians at Ackerman Cancer Center. AckermanCancerCenter.com.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why? Their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. Wow. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. I'll say it again, 2.99% year one rate. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood Jewelers. Clayton, you have told us about buying better quality diamonds, but is there any way to start with a smaller diamond and use it to trade up to a larger diamond later on?
Frank, it's interesting you'd ask that because our founder, H.F. Underwood, popularized growing your diamond here in Jacksonville about 50 years ago, and it's something we still do today. When a customer buys an Underwood engagement ring or solitaire diamond pendant or a pair of ear studs, we guarantee they get the price they paid for it on the purchase of any larger diamond. Now, a lot of stores would say, big deal. We do that too, but here's the Underwood difference. We guarantee you get what you paid when you trade in your Underwood diamond, even if you're trading up by only $1. It's not that you have to trade up 2 for 1 like most jewelers ask. There have been literally thousands of people in the Jacksonville area who have taken advantage of our policy, and Underwood still grows a lot of diamonds for a lot of people.
Underwood, serving excellence since 1928. In San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Now in Hodges Mazda, the 2024 Mazda CX-30 2.5S is ready for any adventure. Lauren Brooks here. Lease it today for just $275. Or enjoy 0% APR for 36 months on the stylish 2025 Mazda 3 hatchback. A fun drive with sleek design. Experience the Hodges Mazda difference with their non-commissioned sales team whose focus is solely on you. Plus, all new car purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Plan. Visit Hodges Mazda at HodgesMazda.com or stop in today during Mazda's A Season to Move You event. See dealer for details. Terms and fees apply for qualified applicants. Expires December 2nd, 2024.
Mia here for MyBookie. Thanksgiving isn't just about stuffing your face, it's about stuffing your wallet. And MyBookie has a bunch of killer promos to help you do just that. Thanksgiving Day, MyBookie is boosting the odds on Devon Achane to score the first touchdown in Dolphins-Packers. If he scores first, you cash in big. If he doesn't, MyBookie has your back with a full refund. That's what I call a no-lose bet. Starting Monday, MyBookie's Telegram prize pool contest kicks off. The pool starts at $15K and grows by $5,000 for every 1,000 new subscribers. All you have to do is join the Telegram channel by December 1 to lock in your share. You'll find the Telegram channel link in our MyBookie videos and graphics this week on the 1010XL social platforms. The more subscribers, the bigger the winning. So spread the word and let's make this jackpot massive. Here's the game plan. This Thanksgiving, load up your plate, grab your phone, lock in your picks. MyBookie's giving you risk-free football, a shot at growing prize pool, and if you're new to the family, they'll double your deposit with promo code 1010XL. Bet anything, anytime, from anywhere with MyBookie.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Hi, I'm Chuck Farah. We know how important it is for you to have a vehicle after you've been injured in a car accident. So when we represent you for your personal injury claim, we'll help you get a rental car from the insurance company while your car is being repaired. And we'll provide this service at no additional fee. If you're hurt and you've got no car, let my team go to work for you. Farah & Farah, protecting you and your family. Call us at 396-5555 or go to farahandfarah.com. Jacksonville.
The next generation of college stars are here in Jacks. Tom Hacker joins 1010XL all day Wednesday to learn where high school's top prospects will be heading.
Presented by Premier Physical Therapy and San Jose Collision on 1010XL.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
Being the primary breadwinner in your marriage is a huge responsibility, but that doesn't mean you should continue to be the primary breadwinner after your divorce, too. The attorneys at the Florida Women's Law Group work hard to make sure you're not responsible for supporting your ex any more than necessary. I'm Heather Quick, owner and attorney. Learn how we can help at FloridaWomen'sLawGroup.com or call us 904-204-2359. Divorce for women, by women. Offices, Jacksonville and St. John's.
At Honda, we appreciate all the comparisons to other vehicles. And no matter how many times they compare their vehicles to a Honda, only a Honda is a Honda. Remember, value, quality, safety, there is no substitute. Visit your local Honda dealer now and experience the difference.
Team 10XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Many ask me, Mia, what is your title at 1010XL? And to which I say, well, you know, I'm an on-air host, reporter. I'm also the director of multimedia production. And everyone says that's a very nice, fancy title. Where'd you come up with it? I say it that it was workshopped, Taylor Doll.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of different people coming together with that title. But I am very excited to share with our Heeligans, with you, the listening audience, that we have another director of content in our midst. A round of applause for our good friend Nick De La Torre joining us now on the Garber Auto Mall hotline and his new job as the director of content for Florida Victorious. Mazel tov, my friend. First the new baby, now the new gig.
Yeah, quite a year. It's exciting. I think NIL is certainly here to stay, and I think this job I get to kind of tell the stories about the people a little more than the players. Still the same, content coverage-wise, but I think I have, a little more access and a little more time to be able to tell some better stories.
And you penned an awesome column explaining why it was important for you to make this move and the idea of getting to also pseudo be a fan again for you. Of course, you will still be covering the Florida Gators on a beat reporting basis. And so kind of walk us through the content side of this for you, Nick, with Florida Victorious still providing great content while also being a part of that NIL piece for the Florida Gators.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. Obviously, we are contracted with a lot of athletes, not just football, basketball, baseball, softball, gymnastics, volleyball. So I get to kind of, spread out and see all the sports. And I think really the story, or maybe some people who might not like NIL will kind of look and see, they're just getting cars and chains and spending like that. And, just in a couple short days, I'm learning about guys setting up savings accounts for their mom or dad, and they've never had them. Derek Wingo, a story I wrote about him, he paid for his mom's travels, and she never missed a game during his 5 years. So I think there's some cool stories that maybe don't get the spotlight, and I think we'll be able to tell those.
I love it, Nick. Little Frankie, she looked adorable and excited over the new job, but also I think the last couple Florida Gator wins. It's a big one, obviously, over Ole Miss.
You're saying that because Nick changed jobs, all of a sudden the tide has shifted in Gainesville, Taylor?
Is that the vibe? I want to obviously get into some of the good things that have happened in the last few weeks with the Florida Gators when it comes to the offensive line, when it comes to some of these guys on the defensive line. But I do want to ask you first, Nick, are there any questions at all, in your opinion, that DJ Lagway and Jaden Bosch should have been getting more reps earlier?
That's tough. I don't know. I think I even mentioned on my podcast, I gave Billy Napier a lot of credit when getting DJ into games. You're taking a 23-year-old, sixth-year senior with a ton of experience out to, at the time, people are calling for your job, and you're trying to get this kid experience, this true freshman experience, and people are thinking you shouldn't even be there next year. So I give Billy credit for that. I think it was always Graham Mertz's team. He kind of earned that. 2 years ago, we were all saying, what is Florida doing going to Wisconsin to get a quarterback? And I think Graham Mertz shut all of us up and kind of earned the respect of fans. So I think there was a plan to get DJ in, but, I don't know that he should have started as a freshman. Florida certainly will be better in the future for all the experience that he's getting. And my goodness, Jaden Baugh, I think I knew he was going to be different when I saw him in, I don't know if it was spring or summer, and he's out there with no swag. There's no gloves, there's no wristbands, just out there for business. He's certainly really good, and it goes to show. I think I said over the summer, losing Trevor Etienne in the portal was worse for the perception than it would be for the production. I think we haven't even seen Katie Daniels, but Florida's backfield, certainly with Jacoby Jackson, Jaden Baugh, and Montrell Johnson, has not missed a beat.
Hell, Trayon Webb has also missed most of the season, and there was some high expectations in the Trinity Christian product as well. Nick De La Torre joining us from Gainesville on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Nick, of these previous 2 victories over top 25 teams, both, of course, the win over LSU 2 weeks ago, the win over Ole Miss this past weekend, which one do you think said more about this Florida program? Was one of them perhaps not all that surprising? Where do they rank for you when it comes to significance of Gator wins that you've covered?
Well, I've covered some off years, but I think Billy's best 4 wins, probably Utah is his first one, Tennessee last year, and then those 2. And I think getting a win over LSU, coming off of that Texas game, getting a win over LSU, snapping a 5-game losing streak, that was such a weird game too. Florida just scored quickly and then couldn't get off the field. I think LSU had the ball for over 40 minutes, 93 plays on offense. If you looked at the stats, you wouldn't think that Florida won the game. But I think getting that win kind of built momentum. And then we've seen Florida not be able to hold that momentum. So I think it was big for them to not get too high and have, an adrenaline dump or fall flat in the following week. Ole Miss is a good team. They were essentially in a playoff game, Ole Miss was. They needed to win their last 2 games to have a shot to go to the playoff. And I think Florida really did what they needed to do. Second half, and I think third quarter was a little rough, but you come out and you get a win. The defense has been, since the first 3 weeks, since the bye week, whatever they did in the bye week, they need to figure out how to bottle it and sell it, because the defense has been phenomenal since that first bye week. And now we're talking about a Florida team that can go and should go and beat Florida State to get to 7 wins. You get to a bowl game, you get to 8-5. Who among us would have pegged 8-5 or 7-5? After the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, definitely not me. I also want to say, coming from somebody who is probably the leader of the Brian Kelly hate fan club, hate club, I very much appreciated that. Speaking of that defense, though, Nick, because one of the players, obviously, Caleb Banks, this last week just was all over the place, led all defensive tackles and pressures in week 13. So just thoughts on him, and in general, a lot of those transfers that Billy Napier was able to bring in that just started to mesh, like you said, since that first bye week.
Yeah, Cam Jackson, Caleb Banks, Terquez Bridges. He came to Florida specifically to get safety tape, and they were playing him at safety, and because of the injuries, he's had to go play. I tip my hat to him. He's not pouting. In his last year, he's going out and he's playing great. The Gators have had, I look at Mike Norvell, and they went so portal heavy, and I think right now what you're seeing in their season in Tallahassee is what happens when you go portal heavy and you miss on a class. And I think Florida's strategy has been to focus on high school recruiting and supplement through the portal. But the guys they've gotten in the portal, Elijah Badger, they need to figure out that ASU pipeline with Pearsall Badger and go get another one. But, also Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon at right tackle. And Caleb Banks is I had pegged Caleb Banks as a guy who would come back for another year. But he's putting NFL tape out these last 2 weeks. And it's a credit to, I think it's even more so a credit to the coaching staff to just get the guys to continue playing after where they were 3 weeks into the season. And Florida fans kind of get mad when I say that because, well, you shouldn't be lowering the bar and you shouldn't be lowering the expectations. And I really just say it because it's human nature when things get hard to kind of find an easy route. An easy route after those first 3 weeks would have been to just pack it up, look forward to next year, start thinking about the transfer portal or the draft. And I don't think we've seen that. We haven't seen any quit from these guys. And they continue fighting. And I think we're really seeing them start to build some momentum that could carry into the offseason.
Couple more for Nick De La Torre on the Garber Automall hotline. Nick, let's flip it over to the recruiting trail. That was the hope by making this outward public sign of support and show of support for Billy Napier to say that he will be the Gators coach. The hope for Scott Strickland and the University of Florida was that the recruits they would follow. They have flipped now 4 recruits in the last 24 hours. Give us kind of the primer of why the last 24 hours in particular shows that the arrow is firmly pointed up in Gainesville.
Yeah, I think part of it is, knowing that Billy Napier will be back. Certainly having number 2 at quarterback doesn't hurt. I think what DJ Lagway is doing gets people excited. If I'm a portal wide receiver, Florida's a no-brainer. But I think it's a testament to the team continuing to fight, Florida getting some momentum on the field. I think a lot of players were kind of like looking for a proof of concept, and they're probably after a month, after 5 weeks, 4 6 weeks of the season, high school recruits didn't know who was going to be Florida's coach. So I think part of Scott Strickland's statement was strategic. It certainly didn't look good to do it right before Texas, but Florida has certainly bounced back, and they're building momentum heading into signing day, which, we're coming up on it. It's December 4th, so it's crunch time for them. But it will be interesting to see how this class finishes up, but then also what Florida does in the transfer portal, because I think it's going to be a really attractive landing spot for a lot of guys.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about that in our promo meeting this week because we have the annual Tom Coughlin J Fund on December 4th and early signing day, so it's going to be a really busy day around here. Nick, I want to zoom out a little bit and just take a look at the SEC as a whole, because I think that it's kind of interesting as things kind of shake out towards the end, with obviously Ole Miss just losing, Bama losing to Oklahoma. You've got Texas playing probably their best opponent this coming weekend in Texas A&M. So what are your thoughts on how the SEC ends up shaking out at the end?
Yeah, I think it was a disaster weekend for the SEC last week. It'll be interesting if Texas, I think Georgia's done. If Texas loses to A&M, you're kind of got a jumbled mess. I haven't even looked into the tiebreakers, but and I've seen people saying if Texas loses and they're 10-2, that they should be out. It's interesting. I'm kind of sitting back and watching everyone get mad every time the college football playoff rankings come out. And at one point, I think before last week, I thought, man, the SEC can get 5 teams in. And then after the losses last week, and one of those, thanks to Florida, it's going to shake things up. So it'll be interesting to see Texas and Texas A&M. I love that they're playing again. Who knows? Maybe Georgia Tech throws a wrench into Georgia's plans to make the playoff.
Wouldn't that
be the Kansas of the SEC?
Wouldn't it be something?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I'm glad you referenced Georgia Tech, Nick, because as we wrap with you on the Garber Automall hotline, people forget that Florida State's season that has gone awry began with a loss to Georgia Tech across the pond in Ireland. As the Gators get set to head to Tallytown this weekend, what do you make of this matchup? Is there any chance, in your estimation, in speaking with Billy Napier and players yesterday, that Florida could slip up and the Noles could give them a game?
I mean, sure. It's a rivalry game. You throw out the record. I think if this were, Charleston Southern or maybe like a Mississippi State, and it wasn't a rivalry, maybe you're looking at a team who's 2-9 and you don't take it seriously. But I think Billy Napier set that record straight. He diverged from what he normally would say, the normal coach speak. He said, this is the most important game of the year, and not because it's the next one, because of what it means. Jordan Castell's grandmother graduated from FSU, and she talked smack to her grandson last year when FSU won. That's the kind of rivalry Florida and Florida State is when grandmas are talking smack to their grandbabies. So I think that was good to hear from Billy to realize, like, hey, this is up there with Georgia. It's up there with Tennessee. This is not a game that we treat as any other game. So I don't think, especially with Florida State having won the last two, I don't think anyone is overlooking. And there's a lot of guys that were on the team last year who remember Florida State being able to celebrate in the swamp. So, yeah, I think any chance of overlooking Florida State will not happen. But it's football. Anything can happen, but I will not be picking the Noles this week.
What a way to end it. Grandma's talking smack as
it.
we get ready to head into the Thanksgiving holiday and Florida State this weekend. Nick De La Torre, now, of course, the Director of Content for Florida Victorious. Appreciate you joining us, friend.
Thanks. Have a great day, ladies.
Again, there he goes. You can find him on X, still at De La Torre. He's still doing Stadium and Gale, the podcast as well, but now the Director of Content for Florida Victorious. We keep the hits coming here on an epic Heating and Air Tuesday. Epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday on Helmets and Heels, which, of course, mention 1010XL for exclusive discounts for military, police, and first responders as well by visiting epichvacservice.com. Our friend Cody Stutes from H-Town going to join us to break down the Jaguars and the Texans coming up next right here on Helmets and Heels.
Best Bet is number one. That's right. Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and St. Augustine have one-card poker, the fastest and easiest card game to learn and play. Play one card at a time, and the highest card wins even money. If the card values are the same, it's time for war, just like the game you remember. You must be 18 years or older to play. Learn all the games at bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Mia here for Duck Duck Rooter. The holidays are coming, and so is your family. Is your septic system ready? What about that leaky kitchen faucet that you've been ignoring? Or that toilet that's been struggling to flush and you said, nah, I'll put it off till next week. Don't let plumbing chaos steal your holiday cheer. Call Duck Duck Rooter today to fix those issues before Aunt Linda and Cousin Earl blame you for ruining Thanksgiving dinner. Call 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Rotator cuff injuries are common among athletes and those who have physically demanding careers. Don't let this injury keep you away from the sport you love. Dr. George Barry here, and the first thing you need to do with a serious shoulder injury is to diagnose where the damage is and how significant it is. Rotator cuff tears are either acute tears sustained during an injury or accident, or degenerative tears. If you're interested in learning more about rotator cuff repair and how our expert team of orthopedic surgeons can help you, call Barry Orthopedics today or visit barryorthopedics.com.
Mia here for my friends at Projax Roofing. Meteorological hurricane season ends this weekend. If your roof took on any damage at all during Hurricane Helene or Hurricane Milton, know that Projax Roofing is here to help. From the smallest of repairs to full roof replacements, my friend Mike has been serving all of Northeast Florida for 25 years. While we hope everyone stayed safe during those storms and any that should pop up, if you need any help with your roof, call Projax Roofing, 904-338-1722, or visit them online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700, offices Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
Plus, Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
These are interesting economic times. That's why it's so important to have someone you can count on. That's ITP Partners. Jacksonville folks taking care of our Jacksonville money. Experience? You best believe you want to give your hard-earned money to folks you trust. Jeff Hartman, Chris Bryan, Dan Abel, Reed Wingate, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reagan Wright have the expertise and knowledge to help clients in their financial lives, focusing on investment management, financial planning, and risk management. ITP Partners, financial partners for life. Securities offered through American Portfolios Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On November 26, 1995, Hall of Fame NFL quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, Dan Marino, sets NFL record with his 343rd touchdown pass.
If you're looking for custom metalwork, look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Whether it's custom railing, shade structures, or custom entry gates, their expert team controls the turnkey process. From CAD design and raw metal to powder-coated finish and expert installation. When you choose Superior Fence and Rail for your custom metal project, you get a project that's, well, superior. So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail today.
The housing market is as busy as ever on the First Coast. And if you've moved in or moved on, make sure you have a team of trained electricians ready to help. American Electrical can make sure you're up to date electrically and maximize your living experience. Smart home automation services, home theater systems, outdoor and dock lighting, and backup generators. American Electrical can do it all. A team you can trust with highly trained technicians ensuring you have the best living experience. American-Electrical.com, a leader on the First Coast and powered by professionalism.
Picking here for About 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of About 9. Visit About 9 Associates today and experience the difference. About 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
I-9 Sports covers the First Coast with great sports for kids 3 to 17, and winter and spring registration is open right now. New girls volleyball and flag at Duval Charter, plus plenty for boys and girls in Nocatee, too. It's all at i9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code.
If your IT, data security, and your office copiers are operating perfectly, you must have hired ABS, Advanced Business Solutions, as your technology partner.
Advanced Business Solutions.
This is 1010XL's Dylan Denmark. They call me Pockets on the radio, but for my floral needs, I only call Kuhn Flowers. Never take chances when you send a full arrangement. Always use the best in the business, Kuhn Flowers. Kuhn Flowers.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson on what he learned about the team during the bye week.
We took a dive into that, right, schematically, just to see where we were and see what we're doing and see what we do well. And, you know, there's some things that I'm not going to get into the whole details of things, but, you know, there's things in the run game that we got to get back to. Even in the passing game, you know, tweaking some things there and some things that we can hopefully help our production in the next 6 weeks. And ultimately just have some time away. You know, we needed, as I said last week, we needed, you know, some rest and get refreshed and you know, see where these next 6 weeks go.
Doug Peterson on Monday. Jags, Texans. Kickoff Sunday at 1. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Thanks again to Nick De La Torre for joining us to talk Gators. From the swamp to H-Town we go. Cody Stutes covers the Texans at HoustonFootball.com and on YouTube. Be sure to check out all of his great stuff, including his Landry Locker live stream during the week. We're going to ask Cody all about the different ways you can interact with him. You can find him on X, though, at Cody_Stutes, and he does a great job covering the Houston Texans. What's going on, buddy boy?
I am pumped to be talking football, even though neither of these teams are exactly where they want to be in the world of football.
Well, we had your comrade in arms, Cole Thompson, on with us last week, so it's only fair that we have you on as we preview the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans round 2 for 2024 this upcoming Sunday at Everbank Stadium, Cody. The Texans, of course, are coming off of a disappointing 32-27 loss to the Tennessee Titans. You were there in person. Where did things go awry for DeMeco Ryans' squad?
And where didn't they go wrong? I mean, putrid is the word that I use to describe that performance. I don't know of many football teams that can get 8 sacks and a defensive score and still lose the football game, but somehow the Houston Texans figured out how to do that. They couldn't run the ball, and despite the fact that they couldn't run the ball, they still tried like hell to run the football, and they couldn't run the ball at all. C.J. Stroud wasn't near as good as he needed to be. This offense stinks. The defense has scored more second-half touchdowns than the offense has in the past 6 weeks. It's pathetic out of halftime. It's not great to start games. I don't know how you come out flat against a divisional opponent, I guess because it was a 2-win Tennessee team coming into town, but the Texans came out flat. Will Levis got rid of the ball quick, got the ball out of his hands, and early on was able to move the ball a little bit, and the Texans couldn't tackle. Everything went sideways and wrong for this Texans team. And, oh, yeah, by the way, that kicker that's been making 50-plus yarders all year long, he missed a 28-yarder that would have tied the game. It was a brutal performance, and DeMeco Ryans said something yesterday that he never says. He's a 24-hour rule guy. He wants to get rid of it. He said not with this one. He wants this one to sting. He wants the guys to remember this one. And I'm hoping some changes come out of this, too.
Yeah, Cody, Taylor Dahl here. That's the stat about the second half scoring is absolutely crazy to me. When you look on the other spectrum of the Lions, for example, I think they've outscored like opponents 52-0 or something in the second half recently, and that's just the tale of two halves for some teams. But I do want to expand a little bit on that run game because Joe Mixon has 6 games this season with over 100 yards. One that he doesn't is Chicago game where he got injured, so didn't play that full game. And so only 2 other games where he hasn't reached that, and this last game against the Titans was that. What did Tennessee figure out, and what did they do to Joe Mixon to just completely shut that down?
Well, so Jared Patterson, the Texans center, said that Tennessee played a little bit different than the Texans expected on film, which is, adjustments are illegal for the Houston Texans. They're not allowed to adjust to opposing teams doing something that they didn't expect. So, of course, that was a huge issue. But DeMeco Ryans claimed, oh, well, no, they did exactly what we thought they were going to do. We just didn't block well enough. We didn't hold our blocks long enough. This offensive line, it stinks. I mean, it's not good at all. Juice Scruggs at left guard can't get it done. He's the worst offensive lineman on the team. Jack Mason, despite being 31, football has caught up with him, and Father Time has kicked his tail. He's not any good. Jared Patterson's fine at center. Titus Howard blocked for about 1.3 seconds, and then he stops blocking inexplicably. Don't know why. And then Laramie Tunsil, yeah, he's a good pass blocker. They can only run left successfully, though, so Tunsil gets out there a lot of times. And, he's just kind of blocking nobody, and then Joe Mixon's got to kind of figure it out a little bit. So when this rushing attack is on, a lot of times it's Mixon in spite of the offensive line, not because of the offensive line. He's great at cutbacks. He's got incredible vision. He's really physical. And even when he does have success, you think about some of these 100-yard games, it's been bottled up into like 1.5 quarters. It's not consistent throughout the course of the game. It's a real issue for the Texans as it starts those 5 guys up front. In the offensive line, they're just not getting it done.
You can find Cody at Cody_Stutes on X. He, of course, covers the Houston Texans. Check out his YouTube page and, of course, all the live shows that he does during the week. Let's stay on the offensive side of the ball where things have gone wrong for Houston this season so far, Cody. We actually did on our Friday show a segment of contenders and pretenders in the AFC and NFC playoff picture right now. And I describe the Houston Texans as contenders when Nico Collins plays and pretenders when he does not play. He played, though, this past Sunday, and while he certainly made an impact, it wasn't like he was able to completely shift the tide for this Texans team. Why?
Well, it goes back to just the inconsistency. He's the only wide receiver that can get open on a consistent basis for the Texans. It's maddening to watch, actually. I mean, they went and got Stephon Diggs this offseason because they didn't have a ton of belief in what they had already in the building. And Tank Dell's regressed mightily. I mean, he has just he just gets physically beat up on the line of scrimmage and doesn't get the separation that he was getting last year, and the Texans haven't figured out a way to game plan some of that separation into the equation. So Nico's excellent. Nico's going to get his. He had another play called back because of a silly penalty by the offense, which is really tough to see in back-to-back weeks. Touchdown plays come off the board because the offensive line or the offense wasn't in sync. And Collins is excellent, but he's the only guy that you fear in the passing game. The tight ends aren't scary. The other wide receivers aren't scary. You throw it to Mixon a little bit, but there's only so much that he can do. I mean, I don't know that they're contenders. I mean, they may make the playoffs because the AFC South stinks right now, but I can't imagine that they're going to be well thought of in that 4-5 matchup that they're inevitably going to have that opens Wild Card Weekend and the Texans Invitational Saturday afternoon, which has been basically their spot in the playoffs every time they've made it.
Cody, 1 year ago today, the Jaguars were the number 1 seed in the AFC, and today they are last in the AFC South. So if any team knows what kind of it feels like to have that collapse, it's the Jaguars right now. So let's take a look at that as the Houston Texans and Jaguars will play this weekend. What is kind of the vibe from the Texans coming into this? It's a defense that has struggled mightily almost all season. The Ryan Nielsen attack, they just don't really have the players to be able to do that. Trevor Lawrence did practice this week. Not sure if he'll be out there. It could be Mac, it could be Trevor. But what is kind of the vibe with the Houston Texans heading into this game?
I would say that it's a very uneasy situation with the Texans right now because I don't think they have any answers. Like, I don't think that they're sort of making a massive dramatic shift in the way that they operate their offense, which they haven't done that to this point. So I can't imagine that they will this week, but I don't think they have answers. So a lot of times the comment at the podium from the coaching staff is, well, the guys have to play better. Okay, well, what if they're not capable of playing better? Like, then what? Then doesn't the scheme come into the play a little bit? Don't you have to help them out a little bit? I feel bad for the defense. They've almost been brainwashed that every game is their fault, despite the fact that they were incredible. I mean, they've lost a 5-interception game this season. They lost the game against the Titans where they had 8 sacks and a defensive score. Like, the defense, they take the blame every week, despite the fact that they play out of their minds for a good portion of the game. So I feel bad for them. They got to be licking their chops at this matchup because they can get after anybody with that defensive line. They can throw things off. They can totally change the way opposing offenses operate, and then they just got to hope that their offense can cobble something together. I mean, last year, C.J. Stroud early in the season went to Jacksonville, kind of got going. Man, that would be a godsend if he could do something like that ahead of the bye week and at least breathe some hope into this Texans team. They lose this game against the Jaguars, it is panic button, sky is falling, and very, very uncharted territory for DeMeco Ryans as a head coach.
That says it all, comparatively, Cody, to what our listeners are currently texting in on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. We've received multiple, don't worry, this is the Texans' right game. This is going to be their get back on the tracks game. But you bring up a very interesting point, and I'll couple that with this. Yes, the Texans have their bye next week after they face the Jaguars. Then they host the Dolphins. They go to Kansas City, and they host the Baltimore Ravens on Christmas Day. That is a murderer's row, Cody. And it brings me to this, knowing that the Texans are also a bit banged up, do you expect them to play everyone this weekend against the Jags with such an arduous schedule still to come?
Got to, because of that stretch that you mentioned. Look, you got the bye week to rest up and get ready. But then, I mean, the Texans are staring 0-3 because it's not just Dolphins at home. It's Dolphins at home, short week to Kansas City, short week Ravens at home. And the Ravens, they need every win they can, trying to keep pace there in that competitive AFC North with the Steelers. So it's not like you're getting like a off performance or a lighter performance from them. So the Texans got to go with everybody. They got to play everyone this week, and they're in a precarious spot. They lost their nickel in Jalen Petrie. Jimmy Ward's going to fill in for him a little bit, but Eric Murray, the safety that replaces Ward because he bumps down to nickel, he's been targeted by good offensive minds and good offensive coordinators, and I think highly of Doug Peterson. I got to imagine he's going to find Eric Murray on the field. He's going to put his best pass catcher out there and hope that Eric Murray ends up on him. And it could get out of hand pretty quick. But, yeah, the Texans got to go with everybody. They got to give everybody a shot to win this week. You got next week to rest up. The next game's the most important game.
Cody, we may need you to come to Jacksonville and the Miller Electric Center to inform Doug Peterson of these matchups and make sure the Jaguars are aware that they can capitalize in certain areas against the Houston Texans. Before we let you go on the Garber Automall hotline, let folks know where can they find your content these days.
Cody _Suits on Twitter, and then just throw the name into the YouTube machine, and you'll find all the YouTube stuff. And then Houston football. So you just I'm not doing Signetti. I'm not saying Google me, but it's easy to find me if you just type in the name and Houston football in the Google machine. But I'm not doing the Kurt Signetti. I'm not doing Google me, okay?
I think we're going to need to clip that, and we're going to need to send that to Cole Thompson, just so he can run with the idea of Cody Stutes is trying to Kurt Signetti on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Cody Stutes, appreciate you, brother, man, and hope to talk soon.
Anytime.
There he goes again, Cody _Stutes on X. Let's react to what Cody had to say about the Houston Texans headed to Jacksonville this weekend. We'll also react to Nick De La Torre. In case you missed it, he joined us earlier in the 12 o'clock hour. That interview will also be available on demand on the 1010XL Gators channel down the road. This is Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Duval! That's right, I'm Tommy Mack, and it's all about Duval and defense. Offense, special teams, baby! Check me out every Friday from 10 to noon on Jaguars Today.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Windows and Doors on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. The Chick-fil-A Peppermint Chip Milkshake is a holiday tradition that's back for another season. Hand-spun the old-fashioned way, this festive peppermint-flavored milkshake is made with Chick-fil-A ice cream dessert and features chips of crunchy peppermint bark. It's minty, merry, and topped with whipped cream and cherry when served in stores. Order in the Chick-fil-A app now or at your local Chick-fil-A restaurant.
Do the Garber wiggle, Garber wiggle, 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 Garber wiggle.
It's the time of year all our customers love. At Garber Automall, every 2024 must go. Take advantage of thousands in discounts on all new Chevy, Buick, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Ford. Visit us in Green Cove Springs or at GarberAutomall.com. And remember, at Garber Automall, there's always a little room for wiggle.
Do the Garber wiggle, Garber wiggle, 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 Garber wiggle.
Me a year, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why, they're unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. Hold up, let me say that again. Trust me, I looked up and down the Eastern Seaboard, folks. You're not going to find a rate this low. 2.99% year one rate. Wow. Take advantage of unbeatable rates. Find your dream home. Move in today. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. Thankful 30. Did you take Awaken 180 up on their offer last month of dropping 30 pounds by Turkey Day? If you did, congrats. Easy, wasn't it? I dropped my 40 pounds in just 9 weeks. So I knew it was possible for you too. And now you're enjoying the biggest food week of the month guilt-free, knowing you're going to keep that weight off with your metabolism on fire and free support for life. Stuffing, gravy, and my personal favorite, pecan pie. Everything's on the menu, guilt-free. Maybe you didn't take me up on the Thankful 30. No worries. It's never too late to start. Maybe December will be your month, and why not? Awaken 180 was built to help you lose weight through the holidays. Parties, adult beverages, the only weight loss program built for real life, and all without medications. Go into the new year with a different resolution this year because losing weight matters, my friends. Thanks to Awaken 180. Reserve your consultation today at awaken180weightloss.com.
Get fishing tips and stories from Captain Kevin
Bite's gonna pick up pretty soon.
on the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show. Brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Whoa!
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010XL AM.
It's a force that can't be contained, propelled by purpose, pride, and the power to protect.
When winning isn't just the mission, it's your passion. You pursue it.
You make power plays.
Aim for fences and go for end zones. You believe that your moment is now.
At Farrah & Farrah, we deliver game day energy 24/7.
If you've been injured, put our force to work for you. Jacksonville.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Ready to sharpen your aim or find the perfect firearm? Come to St. Nicholas Guns and Range. With a huge selection of guns, ammo, and accessories, plus Jacksonville's best indoor range for every skill level. They've got everything you need to hit your target. Whether you're a pro or just starting out, their friendly experts will guide you every step of the way at 4630 Blanding Boulevard or online at stnickguns.com. St. Nicholas Gun and Range. Gear up, shoot a lot, shoot better.
This is David Lane. After suffering through several painful injuries to my shoulder, back, and knees, I've taken my issues to Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and without fail, they've been a tremendous help toward solving my problems. If you have any orthopedic situations, don't procrastinate. Take action today. Give those aches and pains to the pros at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. You'll be glad you did.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by Advanced Business Solutions. The Orlando Magic found a spark in the fourth quarter against the Charlotte Hornets to pull off their third straight win, winning 95-84 as they outscored the Hornets in the final 12 minutes of the game, improving now to 12-7 for the season. Magic's head coach Jamal Mosley knows it was a gritty win and believes they can compete with anyone in the league.
Gutsy win. Gritty and gutsy win. Bodies down, and we'd never make excuses. This group doesn't make excuses. That's the second game that we found a way to win. Guys stepped up, stepped in, but I thought it was amazing. The guys recognized the contribution of Cole Anthony to be not in rotation at times, in, out, but that's the definition of staying ready for your moment to happen.
Magic next hosts the Chicago Bulls tomorrow night with tip-off at 7 o'clock. It's 78 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
1 o'clock hours here on an epic cool heating and air Tuesday. Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders keeping us on the air and afloat with Lauren Brooks off for the Thanksgiving holiday. Be sure to check out our friends at Epic Cool Heating and Air by visiting epichvaservice.com. You can also give them a call at 904-859-EPIC. Be sure to mention 1010XL for exclusive discounts, including discounts for military, police, and first responders. Our thanks again to Nick De La Torre of Florida Victorious, Cody Stutz of HoustonFootball.com for joining us. Now it's time for our highlights.
Now, here's highlights. Unbelievable! On 1010XL.
Baylor's Jeremy Roach with the game-winning 3 in double OT to down the Johnnies in the Bahama Championship. This is only November, folks.
Ejiofor is second. Off the front rim. Omier has it with 2. Roach for the win. It's good! Oh, man. Can you believe that? Jeremy Roach has won it for the Baylor Bears. A buzzer beater in the Bahamas.
Notre Dame dominates Army to move up in the power poll.
What's the most important thing you want to see from your players at the start of this game?
Violence. That's what I told the locker room. This is going to be a violent affair.
Notre Dame kind of exposing him tonight.
As Leonard lets it rip. He's got a completion and a big gain inside the red zone. Right on the money to Chris Mitchell.
1, 2, 3. Here goes the Irish.
How do you spell Franz Wagner? Allstar.
Here's Franz. Trying to land the knockout blow. He'll try a 3 over Diabate. Money! What do you think? It's Franz Wagner in the fourth quarter. 10 points in the frame, and Orlando's lead is 11.
When Urban Meyer was coaching the Jaguars, he ran into Mike Vrabel.
Urban Meyer asked him, do I know you? And Urban Meyer was coaching the Titans. He was coaching the Jaguars, and he actually said the same thing to me. I said, yeah, I'm the head coach for the Titans, and I worked for you for 2 years.
Bless our hearts.
Yes, we had a late edition via the Manning cast last night. Taylor Dahl. Let's start there.
Yes.
Urban Meyer, he who must not be named. It doesn't surprise me at this point.
I genuinely think he was just did not care at all. Like, he took this job, took the money, and was just like, all right, now I'm just going to coast through this. You didn't know players' names. We mocked him for that, not knowing Aaron Donald and calling Joe Mixon, I think it was, on the wrong team and calling players by the wrong number. We know all of the crazy things of him kicking players and after the Cincinnati game or the Cleveland game, whatever it was, that ended up, all of that stuff. But coaches you worked with, you're asking who they are?
Here's the thing, though. The fact that it was Mike Vrabel who coached against Urban Meyer in his final game as the head coach of the Jaguars was so amazing when you know the behind the scenes of what went down in Columbus while Mike Vrabel was on Urban Meyer's staff, in which Mike Vrabel's best friend Luke Fickell was belittled by Urban Meyer. Luke Fickell, of course, is now the head coach at Wisconsin. And Mike Vrabel verbally and physically got in Urban Meyer's face. And yet, as Mike Vrabel revealed during last night's Monday Night Football broadcast, Urban didn't even remember his name.
That's Urban being an a-hole.
Yeah. Part of me in 2021 wanted to say, oh, maybe it's early onset or, heaven forbid, it's a medical condition, God forbid. But when I watch him on Big Noon Kickoff, he seems pretty with it. So it may just be arrogance.
It was almost like, I think it was, a combination of arrogance and a combination of just figuring out he didn't want to be here. He didn't want to do the work of the NFL. He was so used to college football where, the recruiting was such a big factor and you didn't have to. And we talked about that a lot here. I know, I feel like the Urban Meyer thing is always going to be talked about, even though you want to forget it. But it was just, that year was such a disaster and things like this come up and it just brings back the disaster.
11 months of my life that I will never get back. Before we take a brief foray into the world of basketball, both in the association and college hoops, Taylor Dahl, a round of applause, RJ, for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Second Cole Thompson reference of the program, our good friend with SEC Unfiltered, came on the show Friday. He tried to downplay the fact that this is a different Notre Dame team than the one we saw lose to Northern Illinois in September. Taylor Dahl, you were vindicated on Saturday night.
Yeah, it was, and I know people are going to say it's Army, and it is a good thing. Army and Navy both being ranked when Notre Dame played them this year obviously helps, but I think even looking back that this team is light years better, and I said this to Cole Thompson on Friday, light years better than what they were in week 1 and 2, and they beat Texas A&M on the road in week 1, and they're a 10 times better team than what they were even that week. And I'll just read Riley Leonard's numbers in this 9-game winning streak. He's completed 66.5% of his passes for 1,616 yards, 7.7 yards per attempt, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Plus, he has 89 carries for 592 yards and 12 more rushing touchdowns.
Here's my question with Riley Leonard, though. Ultimately, for you as a Notre Dame fan, for him to put a beautiful bow on his college career, all that's going to matter is making the college football playoff and making a deep run. But I wonder what the perception of him is at the next level. Because there were a lot of people going into this season that thought he could be a first-round quarterback. I'm not so sure that is still what many people believe. And it's fascinating to see that evolution while at the same time Notre Dame has progressively gotten better each week.
Yeah, I do not see him being a first-round quarterback. I don't know what he will be at the next level, honestly. I've had my concerns, especially early on in Riley, but he's definitely started to settle down.
He's more of a running threat, though.
Definitely.
Not that he doesn't have an arm, but it's just been exposed at the highest level now.
Yeah. And the clip I just said, by the way, shout out to Chris Mitchell, Mandarin Mustang, former Mandarin Mustang, and that's why I picked that particular clip. But I think that I used the word and I tweeted it during the game, like, Riley Leonard's a dog because he trucks people. He runs over dudes.
It's some Josh Allen there.
Very.
That's what's
But he doesn't have the Josh Allen arm.
Right.
So, and that's where it is. He would have to go somewhere where it is highly revolved around his legs because he can make throws, but he doesn't have, and I even tweeted, or I was talking to Matt Hayes early in the season, probably like week 3, 4, before Riley even really started breaking out for Notre Dame. And I was like, he reminds me, he has like Jay Cutler tendencies where he doesn't have quite the rocket of an arm as Jay Cutler, but he can make a lot of throws on the football field, but he just has that extra oomph in him where he is not scared. He's not sliding, which you're going to have to teach him that once he gets to the NFL, obviously. And so I don't really know where it pans out there, but I think between his progression and Notre Dame's defense, which Al Golden has just turned this defense into an absolute monster, especially this last 9 games, but even going back to when he took over the defense in general. But right now they have 25 takeaways, which is first in FBS. They've only allowed 11.4 points allowed per game, which is third in FBS. They've only allowed 6 passing touchdowns all season, third in FBS, and 13 total touchdowns they've allowed through this amount of time. And that's also with losing some of your biggest pieces on defense. They've lost 3 major guys, including a linebacker, a corner, 2 corners, and a linebacker, and then they just keep going.
Violence.
That's what I love that.
Hearing it from Marcus, soft-spoken Marcus Freeman. Violence.
And he smiled. It was so funny because he just goes, violence, and smiles. I was like, okay, it's a little sick and twisted, but I love it.
I wish we had more time to unpack Marcus Freeman and just his perception nationally. Maybe
Let's
for
get
another
a little
day.
basketball because this is my fill-in for the.
Yes, this is where Taylor gets updated in the world of basketball. Here's your update, Taylor Doll.
Yes.
The Orlando Magic are 5.5 games back of first place in the Eastern Conference. The Cleveland Cavaliers lead the Eastern Conference at 17-1. RJ Saunders, there's no way the Cavs can keep up this pace. And so this has to bode well for a Magic team that has bounced back from tough losses, has found a way to string a couple wins together, does it not?
Absolutely. I mean, here's a team that when you lost Paolo Banchero early on in the season, many were closing the door on their playoff chances, also probably saying that they're just trying to buy time until Paolo Banchero gets back into the mix. However, this is a team that's won 9 of their last 10. Franz Wagner's playing at an all-star level. You had a great performance from Cole Anthony last night, although he's been in and out of the rotation. Just that staying ready. This is a team that stays together. They play very well together. And you have Paolo Banchero saying on ESPN that he may be back before Christmas, and that could spell trouble for the rest of the Eastern Conference. So when you create those short list of teams, when it comes to who can dethrone the Boston Celtics and represent the East in the NBA Finals, of course, you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I think maybe they come down to earth at some point. It doesn't seem that way right now. However, I think the Orlando Magic, you're going to have to put on that short list. And once Paolo comes back, I don't think I would take the ball out of Franz Wagner's hands. I still believe that you use him as now the 1A guy. I don't think this is Batman and Robin anymore. This could be Batman, Superman. I just pick your poison. How do you want to get crossed up and scored on?
It warms my heart to know that there is one young, budding professional sports franchise here in the state of Florida that is fulfilling the prophecy.
Yes.
That
Thank you for giving us something.
The Magic tore it all down. They said goodbye. They said great is the enemy of good. They said goodbye to Aaron Gordon. They said goodbye to Nikola Vukovic. They said, you know what? Those guys are good, but we need to be great. They got the number 1 overall pick. They shocked the world with the selection of Paolo Banchero. And more so than anything, hitting on Franz Wagner. He was the 7th pick overall, RJ? 7th or 8th pick overall?
Yeah, you went top 10.
Yeah, went top 10. That was the one that so many slept on, and here we are, the Orlando Magic, again, in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference standings through 19 games. And here is your college basketball primer, folks. It may be November 26th. We may have already seen the game of the year. Baylor prevails in double overtime in the opening round of the Baha Mar Championship on Thursday night over Rick Pitino's St. John's squad. It was a wonderful weekend of basketball for the beginning of Feast Week. It is heating up a notch, folks, because the Maui Invitational had not one but 2 insane come-from-behind victories last night. We'll begin with the top 5 showdown. Yes, a top 5 showdown here in the 4th week of the college basketball season, as number 4 Auburn erases a 16-point halftime deficit to come back and beat Iowa State. How I've kind of set up our rundown today, Taylor, is I'm going to run through the games to watch for. I'm also going to give you guys my 5 characters that count, because Bruce Pearl once infamously said that character counts. He, of course, is the head coach of the Auburn Tigers. And so we're going to give you our 5 characters that you need to know, especially with the news that Brian Daboll just brought to the forefront that Tommy DeVito may not be able to go on Thursday against the Cooper Rush-led Dallas Cowboys. So let's be real, folks. You're going to be checking out for a little bit of the football world this week because let's just say the matchups aren't exactly the best. And we have some elite college basketball matchups. So my first character that counts is Janai Broome. He had 21 points, 10 boards last night. He is your front runner for Player of the Year. He, of course, plays for the Auburn Tigers. Again, they won 83-81 last night. And then North Carolina comes back down 51-33 at the half to Dayton. Ooh. They come back to win it 92-90. Roy Williams was in the crowd. He actually was involved in a collision. Everyone kept joking that he literally took a charge. and so that was epic. Go Google it. Roy then literally apologizes to the player. It's like, no, the player ran into you, Roy. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be all right. But, of course, those 2 matchups were in the nightcap. They were on the heels of UConn going down 99-97 at the hands of Penny Hardaway in the opener of the Maui Invitational. Dan Hurley is a psycho, folks. I love Dan Hurley. He's great for content. 2-time National Coach of the Year. Said no to R.J. Saunders' Lakers. I hope that still doesn't hurt you, R.J., when I say that. He literally gets a technical with his team tied in overtime and says, because he flops to the floor. He's upset with Liam McNeely's over the back reaching foul, and so he just drops to the floor, and the refs are like, we're not dealing with this. Afterwards, when he was asked about it, he said, yeah, my acting was good enough to be an Oppenheimer.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, what are we doing? So not only is Dan Hurley a character who counts still in college basketball, and he should be a reason you tune in, but at some point in time, the chaos has to catch up with UConn. And the fact that its head coach is a meme. He's one of the best coaches in basketball at both the pro or the college level. But man, oh man, Dan, like, get it together, my guy.
Head coach is flopping.
Yeah,
that's when
literally like drops on the sideline and just decides to throw a hissy fit, for lack of a better term. So Janai Broome, Dan Hurley, the drought of R.J. Davis and Mark Sears is going to be a storyline to watch. Those are your 2 preseason frontrunners for National Player of the Year. Mark Sears plays for Alabama. Alabama is in Vegas this week. They are facing Houston tonight. That's another top 10 matchup that we're getting early on in the season. Mark Sears scored 0 points last time out for the Crimson Tide. Literally pulled himself from the game. And so that's going to be a storyline to watch because he was the preseason Player of the Year in the SEC, and many people believe in the nation. So that's going to be one to watch. R.J. Davis, the lead point guard, 5th-year guard for UNC. Similar situation in the early goings. Will these 2 veteran players actually start finding their footing, or will younger players have to step up? And my last 2 characters for you, one close to home, Chaz Lanier. Folks, Tennessee's doing it. And the pride of UNF is as well. The prophecy was foretold. Rick Barnes went to Northern Colorado. He brought Dalton Knecht to Tennessee. He became a National Player of the Year contender. And then Dalton Knecht goes 17th overall to the Los Angeles Lakers. Are you happy with that selection, R.J. Saunders, Mr. Knecht? Knecht 4 has worked out pretty nice for you, has it not?
Yeah, West Side Connect is a problem.
Yeah, he's averaging double figures in his first season in the association. And now the hope is that Rick Barnes has quite literally had lightning strike the same place twice. He brings in Chaz Lanier after Chaz graduated from 4 years here at the University of North Florida. He scored 25 points at one point last weekend, this past Friday night, against Baylor, who you heard during the highlight. Chaz was outscoring them by himself, 22-18. And so we're very excited to see Chaz in Tennessee back in action later this week. And finally, Miles Rice, a great story if you're going to follow one. He's now at Indiana. He was at Wazoo. He's from the state of Georgia, actually had cancer that sidelined him through his first season of college basketball. He has now come back in a big way, and Indiana is a top 15, top 20 outfit.
Love it.
Some
we need some
characters to
Indiana.
watch.
We need some fun Indiana after this last week.
Yeah, we love Kurt Signetti, and you can continue to Google him, but also Google Miles Rice. Google some of these other characters that count. Taylor's Tangent awaits on the other side right here on an epic, cool Heating and Air Tuesday on Helmets and Heels.
Helmets and Heels.
This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers. In every game, there's a limited number of drives.
All best, here we go.
And there's only one drive of the game.
That's a good old-fashioned rear end whipping.
Listen for the Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville drive of the game on 1010XL.
Did you know you can charge the all-new Honda Electric Prologue in the same receptacle as your phone? You don't need these special charging stations at your home. Simply plug in your Honda or your phone. See your local Honda dealer now. We're electrified.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg, the president of Underwoods. Clayton, I know you're the head diamond buyer at Underwoods, and you travel to the markets to buy diamonds. Why don't you just look at an emailed list and have them send you the diamond?
Frank, there are a couple of reasons we go straight to the source when we're selecting the diamonds we want to put the Underwood name on. First, as an expert diamond buyer, I have to see a diamond before I can really judge its beauty versus the price it's being offered at. Second, when we're at the source, we have huge selections to choose our diamonds from, so we don't have to compromise the Underwood quality standard. The result is we control what goes into our diamond stock instead of allowing a diamond dealer to send us what he wants us to have. The bottom line is we're able to offer our customers carefully selected, beautiful diamonds that we're proud to have carry the Underwood name.
Underwoods, serving excellence since 1928 in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Mia here for MyBookie. Thanksgiving isn't just about stuffing your face, folks. It's about stuffing your wallet. And MyBookie has a bunch of killer promos to help you do just that. On Thanksgiving Day, MyBookie is boosting the odds on Devon A-Chain to score the first touchdown in Dolphins-Packers. If he scores first, you cash big. If he doesn't, MyBookie has your back with a full refund. That's what I call a no-lose bet. Starting Monday, MyBookie's Telegram prize pool contest kicks off. The pool starts at $15K and grows by $5,000 for every 1,000 new subscribers. All you have to do is join the Telegram channel by December 1 to lock in your share. You'll find the Telegram channel link in our MyBookie videos and graphics this upcoming week on the 1010XL social platforms. The more subscribers, the bigger the winning. So spread the word. Let's make this jackpot massive. This Thanksgiving, load up your plate, grab your phone, and lock in your picks using promo code 1010XL. Bet anything, anytime, and from anywhere with MyBookie.
There are Black Friday deals, and then there are Kohl's Black Friday deals. Where else can you get 40% off Levi's, up to 50% off Sephora fragrances, and home favorites for under $10 all in the same place? And it gets better. You can score extra Kohl's cash with $15 earned for every $50 spent. Get 15% off some of your finds, and save even more with limited time doorbusters, like 50% off toys. Select styles. Offers end November 29th. Coupons do not apply to Levi's and toys. Coupons and Kohl's cash do not apply to Sephora. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
This is the Mangler. Years of playing football coupled with lifestyle left my feet mangled with neuropathy. I was experiencing burning, tingling, and numbness. I spoke with 2 foot specialists and they told me there was no cure. They were wrong. I found Dr. Nate Riddle in Ponte Vedra. After utilizing his neuropathy treatment for only 2 weeks, I noticed a difference in my feet. I was regaining my feeling and balance. If you want relief from nerve pain, call Dr. Nate for a free consultation at Riddle Wellness, 904-395-5598.
Yo, E.T. here. You need the perfect spot to unwind with friends, family, or coworkers? Dart Bar is just right off King Street. Darts, pool, and foosball. Dart Bar has all the games to keep the fun rolling. With 20 taps, 200 plus cans, and plenty of non-alcoholic options. Dart Bar has something for everyone. Plus, we host community events and leagues and can accommodate everything from company happy hours to milestone birthdays. Dart Bar is your go-to place for fun, drinks, and great times, no matter the occasion.
Greetings from Daytona, where a band of dreamers took a strip of beach and turned it into a proving ground. The Great American Race, where year after year, greatness is the destination.
Drivers, start your engines, let's go!
So book your experience and soak in 500 miles of history and tradition. The Daytona 500, February 16th, 2025. Secure your seats now at Daytona500.com.
Tony Baselli gets up early Monday morning to share a big football breakfast with you.
Some French toast and sausage patties.
Hall of Fame Monday, 7:20 with Dan and Jeff on the Drill. Brought to you by Heritage Roofing of North Florida on 1010XL.
If you have a slow-draining sink or toilet that sounds like it's about to back up, imagine the potential plumbing emergency when you have family over for the holidays. Flush after flush after flush. Avoid holiday clogs with a call to Duck Duck Rooter today. Duck Duck Rooter will come and resolve those plumbing issues so you can enjoy a free-flowing holiday season. Call 904-862-6769. Visit duckduckrooter.com.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage risk, maximize opportunities, and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys are business-oriented lawyers, equally comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor on 1010XL.
See, this is what I'm so thankful for, Taylor Doll. Our Heeligans, yes, they love ball. They love football. They love their Jaguars. They love college football. That's why so many of you tune in. But we run through our Heels highlights. We break away from your typical Jaguar Gator talk. And they want more.
I love it.
I got Robert on the MyBookie Digital Studio chat line. He wants you to tell us more about some Notre Dame players. 537 says we're forgetting the 2024 Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers in our conversation about emerging sustainable sports franchises in the state of Florida. We got some folks who want to talk Alabama basketball. This one I have to read for poor RJ. More basketball fans. 678, gonna go see the Orlando Magic with the little man when Paolo comes back. He will be wearing his fresh new Jason Tatum jersey. I'm not really sure if that makes sense. Maybe we can get this man, RJ, a Franz jersey or something. Bring him to the good side. Bring him to the light.
I mean, if you are a Boston Celtics fan, you're blocked.
Sorry, I had to do it. I had to do you like that, RJ. Thanks to you, the Heeligans, for interacting on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures at 641-1010. Perhaps you will have something to say about what's bugging Taylor Doll.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
I'm very excited to eat a bunch of food in 2 days for Thanksgiving.
I've intentionally been having salads the last few days because
make sure there's room.
I'm bracing myself, yes.
So I do want to start there and give away some lunch for today. Let's give lunch on the ladies, lunch for two to Chick-fil-A. Give us a call at 641-1010. Let's say caller number 4 can go get some lunch for today. Maybe get a salad. That way you do save some room for Thursday because I'm very excited about that. But I'm staying on theme for this because we've talked a lot of running backs and a lot of why running backs have made this comeback this season and how important they are to the leading teams in the NFL. And I've done a few tangents on this, but this popped up on my feed the other day, and it really stood out to me because it's names we've talked about. We actually just mentioned all 3 on this show today. So the Giants, they let Saquon Barkley leave. That looks like a bad decision. But for Saquon, probably a good decision because Saquon's having a career year already, and there's still several games left to play. The Titans let Derrick Henry leave. Derrick Henry having another absolutely fantastic year, battling Saquon neck and neck to what their seasons have looked like so far. And the other one you mentioned, the Raiders, let Josh Jacobs leave, who's also having a career year with the Green Bay Packers, unfortunately. But those three teams, the Giants, the Titans, and the Raiders, are a combined 7-26. The three running backs on their new teams, 24-9. So maybe having an elite running back does matter. And I'm now seeing this conversation even all over of maybe in the Bears world, they're having this conversation. Maybe it's worth it because Derrick Henry, they were in talks with getting, and Saquon Barkley, they were in talks getting. They didn't want to pull the trigger. They felt it was too much money. And so people are now like, do you need to do that in free agency? Or do you want to spend on a high draft pick and go get an Ashton Genty because you see the impact that they're making and just how much it opens your offense and other things? I think we are seeing this flip right now. And we're seeing, we talked a little bit with Carmen Vitale a couple weeks, whatever, last week, the week before.
It all blends together.
Yeah, of how the passing offenses have kind of, why they've started to struggle. And is it the too high safeties? Is it the linebackers being able to drop back in coverage so well now because they are more athletic and quick and not these just big burly linebackers that we used to see? And I think all of that is factoring in. And because of it, teams are shifting priorities into this run game, and you are seeing it. These three guys who people wanted to just be like, oh, well, running backs aren't important because you can draft them and that next guy's going to come in and it's going to be absolutely fine.
System over player.
Yes, are now on teams that are 24-9. And yes, do I think that they all went to good teams? You're talking about the Eagles, the Ravens, and the Packers. Already pretty good teams that were established. But those three pretty good teams realize that if you have an elite running back, it changes everything.
So let me take it a step further. In case you missed it, we referenced this in the opening segment of today's program. Those top three rushers, Saquon, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. The next two top rushers in total yards in the National Football League, Jahmyr Gibbs and Chuba Hubbard, were both drafted by the Detroit Lions and Carolina Panthers, respectively. And I think definitely Gibbs to an extent, Hubbard, I think that those two selections were questioned. Let's go through the rest of the top 10.
Yeah.
Top rushers in the National Football League, Taylor Dahl. Kyron Williams, the Los Angeles Rams, drafted by the Rams.
Having a good season.
Tony Pollard, Tennessee Titans, got some nice little chunk of change in the offseason to go to the Tennessee Titans.
You know I'm a Pollard fan.
Aaron Jones, also left for dead by the Green Bay Packers, got a nice bag from the Minnesota Vikings, stayed in the NFC North. Joe Mixon, it's a one-year deal, yes, but he is a featured piece, as you heard Cody Stutes reference earlier in the program, for the Houston Texans. As Joe Mixon goes, so the Texans go.
And behind what he said is a very bad offensive line, which is very interesting. And I know tomorrow is probably our, like, as we'll face the Texans, so we'll be talking about it. But it is fascinating because last season, everybody was like, well, they're very beat up. There's injuries all over their offensive line.
They were the most injured offensive line, statistically speaking, in the league.
Yes, and everybody thought that's why they were struggling. This year, they've been pretty relatively healthy, and they're worse. Yeah. So that's a conversation and something that the Texans are going to have to address.
The 10th leading rusher in the National Football League is Bijan Robinson, who was drafted 8th overall, was regarded as akin to a Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley, a generational player who could also catch balls out of the backfield. And so, therefore, that was why that pick was okay in the top 10 by the modern NFL fan. It was justified.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
there was criticism still.
From that top 10 we just ran through, you have 4 players who were drafted by that team and either were afterthoughts or were drafted so high that the pick was ridiculed. And then you have 6 players who earned money in free agency, big-time money, and are now a featured part of that offense. And so what that says to me is you're not seeing once upon a time when Raheem Mostert was an undrafted free agent on his 4th team, and he emerged as the lead tailback for the San Francisco 49ers during that Super Bowl run. You don't see a James Robinson, an undrafted free agent afterthought by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and a 1,000-yard rusher in his rookie season here in Duval County. You're not seeing that anymore. You are seeing either major draft capital or major dollars and cents being spent, and it is rewarding teams in spite, for many of these teams, in spite of their offensive line shortcomings. Like you alluded to the Texans, the Ravens' offensive line, You've got
questionable in moments.
You got one of the better centers in Tyler Linderbaum. You got a rookie right tackle who got a couple flags last night, was penalized. You've got a Green Bay offensive line that's good, but I wouldn't say that there's any marquee players. When I look at these running backs that we just listed off, obviously the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions, we're going to talk about their offensive line until the cows come home. But as I look at some of these other offensive lines, I mean, hell, the Tennessee Titans offensive line has been a major suspect for them this season. And yet here's Tony Pollard, the 7th leading rusher in the league.
I think the maybe one outlier that I would say in that group is Chuba Hubbard. And I say that because he was a 4th-round draft pick, and they obviously had Christian McCaffrey. So I think they drafted him where it made sense because they're like, okay, you already have a top running back in the league. But the concern with Christian McCaffrey was being able to stay healthy. And I know people are like, what in the world were you doing? And especially after the season Christian McCaffrey had with the Niners last season. But it just shows how much, if you are a team that is built around running backs, being able to kind of go ahead and get another one, even though maybe it's not time. And then you can go to the Tennessee Titans, too. We're talking about Derrick Henry's season, but Tony Pollard also is obviously having one of those top seasons, too, because their offense is built around being able to run the ball. And has that worked fantastically for the Titans? I don't know. Because I feel like they would argue that they want to see a lot more when it comes to their passing game and stuff like that. But I do think for the most part, when you look at this list of guys, it's teams that knew they needed to take they needed a little bit of a step up when it came to the run game, and they did it. And the Lions did it times 2.
Doubling down. One more segment to go on an Epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday. Be sure to check them out at epichvaservice.com. When we return, we'll hear from Doug Peterson, and we'll put a bow on this Epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday on Helmets and Heels.
This hour of Helmets and Heels is brought to you by First Coast Honda dealers.
Want to make sure he gets to the game on time? Tommy, your uniform is ready. Let's go. Install a natural gas dryer, and you're guaranteed faster drying times and softer laundry. And now you can earn a valuable cash rebate up to $200 on an energy-efficient natural gas dryer. Show your home love with natural gas, and it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Hey, Jacksonville, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Are you looking for an easy way to feed your friends and family this holiday season? Let your local Chick-fil-A restaurant cater your next gathering. Choose from a variety of trays, including Chick-fil-A nuggets, mac and cheese, and chocolate chunk cookies. Perfect for a get-together of any size. Place an order through the Chick-fil-A app online or by calling ahead and pick it up at your local Chick-fil-A restaurant, or you can get it delivered directly to your door. Enjoy more of the holidays with your loved ones when you take cooking off your plate. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details.
A lot of companies will tell you they're the best. At Custom Tree Surgeons, they show you every time. Custom Tree Surgeons has built an all-pro team. Every tree service professional has years of experience, continually trained and certified. They know what, when, and how to handle any job. It gets done efficiently and quickly by a team of experts. So for tree trimming, removal, stump grinding, and emergency services, forget any name other than Custom Tree Surgeons. There is no job they can't do better. Go to our website, CustomTreeSurgeons.com. That's CustomTreeSurgeons.com, and let them show you how the job is supposed to get done.
You want to know what 3 little words everyone wants to hear, especially this time of the year? Toyotathon is on, and it's going on now at Arlington Toyota. Mia here, Arlington's lot is packed with hundreds of new Toyotas, and they are all marked down with Toyotathon savings. How big are those savings? How about financing as low as 0% on select new Toyota models? 0%! When was the last time you heard the word zero? But before you get all caught up in the frenzy, like me, remember that with every new Toyota purchase at Arlington, you get the benefit of their 60-day exchange program. That's 60 days to love your new purchase or exchange it for one that you do for total buying confidence. Plus, every new Toyota purchase from Arlington comes with their lifetime warranty. That's unlimited time and miles. So where should you get your Toyotathon savings? From Arlington Toyota. With a 4.7 out of 5-star rating and over 21,000 Google reviews, they do Toyotathon right. 10939 Atlantic Boulevard or online at arlingtontoyota.com.
It's It's Thanksgiving week, and Monahan Jewelers has the best deals in town with up to 40% off the entire store. Thousands of beautiful pieces are all on sale with fantastic prices on our entire inventory, including up to 30% off on GIA certified diamonds. We're your local family jeweler, so come visit us today and on Small Business Saturday for up to 40% off on diamond studs, engagement rings, colored gemstones, our designer brands, custom design, everything. The name you can trust in fine jewelry, Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Visionaries, builders, and doers. Are you ready to change the world? Miller Electric is your opportunity to shape the future. Miller Electric is leading the charge in electric vehicle technology with our state-of-the-art EV Innovation Design Center. We're working to create a sustainable future. We're also the proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, powering their performance at the brand new Miller Electric Center. Miller Electric, we provide competitive pay, unbeatable benefits. Apply today. MillerCareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician, Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Your musculoskeletal system carries the body, meaning that it maintains the structure against gravity. If you want your joints to stay healthy and seek the simplest solution, the best answer is to lose weight. Don't forget that the more weight you put onto your joints, the more pressure and stress there is on your hips and knees. This translates to more pain if you're already having issues. Losing weight is the quickest way to alleviate joint pain and boost your joint health. Go Jags.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Want to grow your hair back?
IHRS, right here in Jacksonville, is the only hair transplant clinic in the country that offers multi-unit hair grafting, FUE NeoGraft hair transplants, and the 45-minute effective PRP treatments.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
Thank you, IHRS.
IHRS showed me what was causing my hair loss and helped stop it.
Schedule a free evaluation and find out how to grow your hair back and keep the hair you have. Call 904-777-IHRS. Take the first step to restoring your hair today. Visit hairforme.com.
Now my hair will grow for the rest of my life. Thanks, IHRS.
IHRS has been restoring hair for men and women for over 30 years.
Call now for a free in-person or virtual evaluation. 904-777-IHRS. That's 904-777-4477. Or visit hair4me.com.
Mueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Our first contestant, a stay-at-home gymnast from Jacksonville, Florida. It's Gwendolyn Beers.
Thank you, Monty. I don't know who installed my air conditioner, but it hasn't had a tune-up in over 3 years. Am I cool?
Let's ask our expert judging panel. Judges? I'm sorry, Gwendolyn. You're not cool. Johnny, tell her why.
That's right. To keep your air conditioner performing at its best, you need a skilled technician to check your pressures, voltages, and air filters in the fall and the spring. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, our club members get 2 free visits a year to make sure that you are cool.
Can you tell me if my haircut is sexy?
You're better off not asking.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Stay in touch with the stars of Coral Gables.
From South Beach to Jax Beach. Stay on A1A for the latest from Miami on the Hurricane Report.
Brought to you by Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
On 1010XL.
Elbow pain, whether acute or chronic, can make it difficult to do normal activities like playing sports, doing household chores, or even sleeping comfortably. Dr. George Barr here, and no one wants to deal with pain without solutions on how to feel better. We've all heard of tennis and golfer's elbow, but there's plenty more that can cause pain, like osteoarthritis, muscle tears, and nerve entrapment. All are treatable at Barr Orthopedics. Getting you back to full health is our mission, and there's a number of different treatment options we can offer. Call us today or visit barrorthopedics.com.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars analyst Jeff Lageman, a guest this morning of Jaguars Today, on if he expects Trevor Lawrence to play on Sunday against the Texans.
Well, look, if the player gets medically cleared by the doctor, okay, and basically assuming that, okay, can't hurt it any worse. I mean, does it need fixing at the end of the season? Maybe. But as long as he can't do any more damage and he can play, then I think he's got to play. I think he's going to play this week. I don't know anything more than what you guys do, but I just know from knowing and seeing what Trevor has done in the past, and he's played through some things, I expect him to play this week.
Jeff Lageman on Jaguars Today. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
One segment to go here on a epic cool heating and air Tuesday on Helmets and Heels. Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl. Lauren Brooks has the week off for the holiday. Before we do let you go, we did want to let you hear from Doug Peterson, who did meet with reporters yesterday for the first time since the Jaguars returned from their bye week. The Big Cats off today, but will be back on the practice field and at the Miller Electric Center tomorrow. Here is Doug on potential in-house changes that were made over the course of the last few days.
Last week you said as far as changes go, everything was on the table. Did you decide on any changes?
Yes.
Any changes that you'll share?
Nothing that I'll share at this time. And I personally think that, just to be a little bit more clear on that, you know, it's sort of, I say that to say this, that a lot of these are in-house. And these are things that we focus on as a staff and as a team. And I just don't think they need to be in the open right now.
So, even if changes are made, we don't know what they are.
He doesn't tell us anything. I feel like it's just been a giant game for the past 8 months.
And here's the thing is, even in terms of looking at this glass half full, we had Cody Stutes on. He told us the Texans are leaking oil right now.
Yep.
This could be viewed as an opportunity. Yes, the Tennessee Titans, who you'll face in 2 weeks' time, have the best passing defense, but they have one of the worst rushing defenses in the National Football League. That presents an opportunity. And yet, when asked about what he learned about his team during the bye week, much of the same, I'll say, intonation and tenor of voice from Doug Peterson.
We took a dive into that, right, schematically, just to see where we were and see what we're doing and see what we do well. And, you know, there's some things that I'm not going to get into the whole details of things, but, you know, there's things in the run game that we got to get back to. Even in the passing game, you know, tweaking some things there and some things that we can help our, you know, hopefully help our production, you know, in the next 6 weeks. And then and ultimately just have some time away. You know, we needed, as I said last week, we needed, you know, some rest and get refreshed and you know, see where these next 6 weeks go.
I just want to be excited, Taylor Dahl. I just want for you Heeligans to be excited. And that's all I want at this juncture. And look, I've sat through a 1-15 season covering this team. I understand that at some point in time, if this season continues on the trajectory that it is presently on, there will be a conversation about, not amongst the folks at the Miller Electric Center, but among the fan base, among us here at the Superstation, of these losses piling up is for the greater good. But right now, man, I just want something.
I know. And I saw a tweet. I wish I honestly had bookmarked it, because it was somebody saying, like, pretty much, get ready to go through pain to get to, like, the good side of things. And they went through a list of like 6-7 examples of what some of the things the Lions had to do, some of the things the Chiefs had to do, some of the things that the Bills, the Bengals, all of those teams that had to do within the last, let's just say, within the last 10 years of that, where the fan base was legitimately upset because it was things that they were like, hold on, like, why did we trade this person, or why did we fire this coach, or why didn't we fire this coach, or whatever the case may be. And all of those are now contenders. We'll talk about the Bengals, I guess half contenders, I don't know. But I think that sometimes the path isn't clear. But I think the most frustrating thing with the Jaguars is it's been not clear for a really, really long time now. It's not like we are at this point where we're saying, you know, in the last 10 years, you're now saying in the last 20 years, you're talking about this same cycle over and over and over again. And that's when the fan base gets the most frustrated. And I feel like when you look back at this last offseason, and let's just go back to the end of this last year, and we talked about it a ton, and we talked about it, Trevor's injuries, and he wasn't able to practice that month, and Christian Kirk was out, and there was just a lot of things that kind of piled up. But you were losing to a lot of backup quarterbacks at the end of the season. You needed one more win, and you couldn't do it. And then you go into this offseason where you brought this little bit of hope, this little bit of light into it. And because you did spend some money, and because you did address some of the holes, and you go into this draft and you do trade back and then still get Brian Thomas Jr., which a lot of people were excited about. So there were these positive things, and you hear the stadium news, and you hear the throwback jerseys, and it just felt like the vibe was up. And then as soon as you actually had to go play football, it died. The vibe totally died.
And there's no turnaround in sight.
Yeah, it's arguably one of the worst free agencies that we've seen outside of Mitch Morse. Almost every other pick was a fail. And then you go to the draft, and outside of Brian Thomas Jr. and Jarian Jones, it looks like the most weren't what you wanted to see, at least initially, especially in those higher picks. And to your point, it doesn't feel like there's an immediate fix. It feels like there are a lot of things that the Jaguars need to do right now, because we're talking about, you still need to improve your offensive line now. Now your defensive line looks like it needs to be improved, and that was something that you kind of felt hope with, especially with Eric Armstead coming back. Now your corner room feels like it needs help. And your safety room, who you were really excited about, Andre Sisco and Antonio Johnson coming in, now you feel like they need help. And so what you felt like were a lot of holes fixed. Now it feels like you have more holes right now than you did even at the end of last season.
You know the meme of the man standing outside the burning building, or the explosions and the fireworks?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, nothing to see here. Yeah. That's what I felt like listening to Doug Peterson there. Perhaps a little bit more up-tempo tomorrow when he meets with reporters at 10:35. Let's cool it down, shall we?
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 87.
I'm going to say what I think is an important factor of this weekend, and obviously we can have the Trevor Lawrence conversation a million times of whether he should or shouldn't, or how healthy he is, or if he needs surgery, or whatever that conversation may be. Tank Bigsby. I think Tank Bigsby is just such a major factor of the rest of this season. Having him on the field, it does just do something for the offense, and I think to have that true downhill runner to complement what Etienne can do and kind of open up the offense in other ways. And I just think that is a very important thing. So I truly, really do hope when we get this news that Tank Bigsby will be playing this weekend, because I do think that is a big, big piece of having a chance against the Texans.
A reminder, we have some elite college basketball coming your way. Of course, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to remind you not only to break Jaguars news, but also to remind you that the sport of college basketball is awesome. We have 3 top 12 showdowns tonight, folks. Houston, Alabama. That's number 6 Houston taking on number 9 Alabama. Number 1 Kansas. Number 11 Duke also at the Vegas showdown. And finally, from the Maui Invitational for you late night owls, Auburn, 4th ranked, taking on number 12 North Carolina. Before we go, we'll have to get into this tomorrow, Taylor, because I know we're pressed for time. In case you missed it, here are the Maxwell Award finalists. This is I don't want to say an alternative to the Heisman, but it's awarded to the best overall player in college football. So it's a competitor, if you may. Ashton Genty, Travis Hunter, Dylan Gabriel. Those are your 3 finalists. And Canes fans, if you're listening, you know all too well, there is a name missing there. We will hit that tomorrow. This has been an epic, cool Heating and Air Tuesday. Our thanks to Cody Stutz of HoustonFootball.com. Our thanks to Nick De La Torre of Florida Victorious for joining us on this lovely Tuesday. For Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, for the vacationing Lauren Brooks, I am Mia O'Brien. XL Primetime comes up next.